this is an illustration of basically a fairy tale that I wrote in probably 1978. And it involved a zebra with the head of a man who lives on a zebra plain. And if he turns just slightly, he disappears into the zebra, or to the black and white frame. And so Ruth drew this and several other illustrations for this story. That is my face on a zebra's body. The striped plain is habitat and prison, but no dream, not even a vision. Move but slightly, I become nobody. I can't remember how I came to be. Perhaps I was bewitched by the gods. I am a creature against all the odds, a thinking, feeling singularity. Animals are defined by their camouflage, but not men, and I am neither one. Come, capture me. I can dodge your eye. Before you start, you're done. But in doing so, I lose myself as well in this dry, cold vanishing point of hell. Within the 142 works, there are also some by other friends, and this was a photograph taken by an old high school friend of mine by the name of Sandy Ellerson. It's actually called the Hyde Mill up in Wisconsin. They moved the river to build the water wheel, then built a wooden race to divert the current. Sluice opened, stones ground raw grain into meal for 100 years until the old mill was spent. River turning wheel, turning gears, turning stone, a devolution of mechanics, all to crush a seed. The sun burns for years to dry an animal's bones, and countless gallons of water won't break a reed. I'm reluctant to approach the mill too closely. Its ancient timbers are desiccated, ghostly. Here its stoppage rasped by the river's relentless passage over the shattered race's detritus. Away from the wreck, a little waterfall churns, spray racked in spume, and like time, it burns. Halloween is only a week away, so I've got two poems here that are sort of appropriate to the season. This one is called Ghost by the Japanese painter, printmaker, Hokusai. Ghosts are the human form of angels and devils. Depicted as remnants of flesh or foggy wisps, they're barred alike from prayers, embrace, and revels. They're cursed with loneliness and lacerated wrists. It's said pain lingers unresolved, hence their visits. If devils and angels are the minions of God, maybe ghosts are legions we send to the same plane of battle, to wander, Cain in the land of Nod, between both armies, to prove we've not lived in vain. If we could but convince them their war is insane. When they appear before men, their message is clear. Silent and staring, they accuse or plead or frown, and when we try to speak to them, they disappear. The only ghost I will believe in is my own. It's hard to see a little bit, but it's a very famous image by John Fuseli called The Nightmare. Nightmares are death undergoing animation, a stiffening fog of imagery shot through with replete hues and stagey illumination, shifting floors and infinitely receding views. They rarely project what we deeply fear, which I won't begin to name even here. I don't tempt the fates crouching inside me. Yet made real, they would scream insanity. Nightmares climb over the lip of the ego well to give flesh to creatures in my personal hell. The woman's are not just imps with accusing grins. Her blinded horse looms with a seeming friendly face. The humped incubus pins her with her fleshly sins. That equine smile makes a mocking promise of grace. one of the earlier poems I did was about the stars, and it's a favorite subject of mine, and I have 2 poems here that relate to that. This first is by an unknown artist, but you may recognize it's a very famous engraving from 2 or 3 centuries ago. It's called the Flammarion engraving. The Milky Way is stone and silent fire, flying ice and dust and expanding gas, but what we find within the heliosphere suggests a whilom laboratory where the essential elements were cast and the residues made preparatory for the distillation that is planet Earth. Europa's water, Io's sulfur, gases from Saturn and Jupiter, engineered for the terrestrial birth. The traveler sees beyond a starry veil, cosmic clockwork, eternal music. Kneeling, he lifts a hand as if to hail his maker, the tinkering mechanic. And this is a photograph of something called the local group, which is all of the galaxies that are reasonably close to us, and there's still thousands of them, and that's what's just local. There's, obviously, it goes on infinitely. Andromeda and the Milky Way collide in the next few billion years or so. Not why, Frost said, provide, though it's not a bad way to go. With some 2 trillion stars at risk in the melding of galactic disks, odds of stars clashing are rather low. Consider the star nearest the Sun, Proxima Centauri, a distant sun unlikely to visit anytime soon. Perhaps a stray Andromedan moon might sail our way. With some delay, the local group will join the fray and bring an end to night and day. I need to explain this poem for a couple reasons. First of all, I have been dealing with a physical problem for a couple of years, and it makes sitting for me very uncomfortable. Usually by this time at night, usually by 6, I'm sitting on ice and I'm in bed asleep by 8:30. So I apologize, I cannot stay for the rest of the event. It's just simply at the end of a long week impossible for me. But I wanted to read this poem because it relates to it. Over the 3 years, I've dealt with 8 different doctors. 4 of them, I would say, were great. 2 of them were just sort of okay, and 2 of them were just dreadful. And out of all 8 doctors, I still, and thousands of dollars of expense, I still don't have a diagnosis. And so I just live with what I'm dealing with, but it is getting better. So this is a painting by James Ensor. It's called Bad Doctors. And I've added a title because it's in 3 parts. And my own title is 3 Scripts for Bad Doctors. Mr. Ill was given a potent pill and a bill, and though it didn't quite kill him, it induced the drafting of his will. Doc Diploma diagnosed lymphoma upon sniffing whiffs of Ill's aroma. Dr. Payne declared the patient insane. Shock therapy will teach him to complain. 2. We assume 8 years of school and residency is rich justification for complacency. We trust there's nothing more to learn after all that. Give those you can't diagnose a script, a kindly pat. Has it occurred to you to do more research? Stat. And finally, the doctors and a butcher have almost killed the tapeworm. Death stands by to assist, the ultimate, for them most welcome germ. Yeah, that's sort of a nasty little piece of it. But very heartfelt. I have one last poem to read, and it is not rhymed. It is called Stoppages. Again, this is the same image as before. Julia painted this painting based on this poem. It's in 8 sections. The stoppage, as I said, is a concept that Marcel Duchamp came up with, a measuring stick where each stoppage is a different length. And each section of the poem, and there, as I said, are 8 of them, is a stoppage, a different measurement of experience. Okay. I'll repeat myself. Stoppages. 1. I am seduced by the stoppage of time, like Bruckner with his endless symphonies pushing back the inevitable silence of the unattended moment. For the next 10 seconds, nobody dies. Late afternoon, the maple goes darker, cell by cell darker in the slant sunlight. I can't be sure the leaves were just as red 10 years ago, or that John Milton's blood wasn't a fraction thicker than my own. 2. I wield shears beneath honey locust, tenant neglected, grown to ground, scissor and step back, watch the fluttering stem-bound leaves follow the branches down. I bundle new deadwood, 3 green needles like fangs guard each twig, black bark thorns driven by the gathered droop of leaves being lifted, pierce through leather the flesh of my palms. My mind, cuspidate in my fingers, moves through the patterns of thorn, proliferating pain. The sound of, this is 3, the sound of somebody dropping the door knocker just once. I flee unremembered phantasms, hold eyes closed tightly, tongue like paper, reach for the glass of water, see the glass in the dark and dilate, waking. Setting the glass off the table, edge, grope, settle it on the corner, more sleep, go to sleep. Eyelids pinch a thread of sunlight spinning through the curtain dust. The radiator knocks, just once. Vagueness spreads an exit through counted time, past another me I met fading, questioned in sodden stillness and crepuscule. Quick manufacturer of deep inconsequence, someone not I, overhears singing I have not composed, conversation rendered without regret. The voice of the homunculus at the core of the blood cell and the metaphor. I'm billiard brain. Blood and ivory balls percuss on clipped green and blue crystal. In each sphere, a ray is loosed to sublimate the ricochet. The angels share offered and unattained, air breathed in sleep, a rarefication of spirit I can't sniff, taste, pour into existence, but think is a wonder of wines. 4. What interior thing sleeps with memory, knows the certain locus of nothing, and the time of any new thing only in the nightlight of its circumscription? What does this slumbering watcher feel waking beside a lover of years past who's discovered herself under wild skies in a land contoured by the height of sand? His eyes pinched, his ears stopped, his dream-worn senses insinuate the wonder of that endlessness and expatiate like a ticking clock on what he thinks of his own death. Seeking out the reality 3 dimensions deep within himself, his mind, that strict lump that can explain a bird, that cagey bastard, calmly discourses on phantom and fading gods, while his warming beauty evaporates and mingles with his breath, ecstatically generating weather. 5.
You lost your
Yeah. At this point, it's not too relevant. It was perfectly smooth, the earth I woke to, featureless, without mountain, grass, sand, bird, lion, skin tight, a bald head. Balloon on which plaster is packed, this world before a world. I stood in dark after moonless dusk and said, nonetheless, this is my world. I recognized the horizon, the leavening of gravity, the proximity of sky. A fit of rain sprayed my face. The lazy Susan landscape threw me down. My first sweetheart limped up on the brace of her polio. Naked, I rolled on my belly. I woke, the Nixie gone, salt water on my lips. The moon rose, pulling water back into a great wave, holding it back above my head. Johann Sebastian Bach is walking into this room. Buddha croaks and Bach still walks into this room. Walk the road, stop, cough, crack the bone of sound. Bach is walking into this room, whirling a grogger. Through stained glass, scanned berry trees, and sun swizzle, Bach is waltzing into this room. Clap your eyes. Johann Sebastian Bach is walking into this room. 7. A creaking, ecstatically extended wakes me early in the night. Winter air binds board in stone. A hairline runs down the facade, splitting bricks, parting mortar from its hold, one more fraction of an inch. Prone, I imagine the house shift off its load-bearing edge and topple into the basement. When will it stop? The house grind out its antagonism of stress and nail to silent, unlevel motionlessness. Or will I stop waking to this house? 8. Water on the beach and the pebbled surf, the air is full of milk. A hand touches me, there I hate, but not the hand. Nature is the second displeasure when the first tips the world in drinks. Round, hard, the pebble, and black, not much else. Wet, it shines, dry, it's dull. I keep it in a dish of green water. The blunted shard of glass, the charred stick, the aluminum bent to a coin, the dimensionless dream of sand, calm, if I look at them. As I age, it is not that I like people less, but have less to do with them. I can say the one thing about the pebble, but the other comes in white noise, water on the beach. That's it. Thank you.